Today, we're stepping into the lab to solve a kind of chemical detective story. It's a mystery where the clues are literally invisible. The tools are unbelievably precise. And the truth? Well, the truth is revealed one single drop at a time. So let's start with the central challenge. Imagine you've got this clear liquid. It's a solution. And your job is to figure out exactly how much of something is dissolved in there. You can't see it. You can't just pour it out and weigh it. So how in the world do you measure it? All right, mission accepted. The answer to our little problem is this really elegant and powerful technique. It's been a cornerstone of chemistry for, over 100 years. It's called titration. At its heart, titration is basically just a very, very controlled chemical reaction. We take our mystery solution, right, and we carefully react it with a second solution, one whose concentration we know perfectly. By measuring exactly how much of that known solution it takes to get the job done, we can actually work backward and crack the case of the unknown. Now, every titration has two main characters in its story. Down in the flask, we've got our analyte. That's our mystery, the one we're trying to figure out. And in that long, skinny glass tube above it, that's the titrant. Think of the titrant as our trusted standard, the key that's going to help us unlock the whole thing. To pull this off, you can't just grab any old jar or beaker from the cupboard. No way. You need a specialized set of tools, and each one is designed for insane levels of precision. This isn't just glassware. This is the chemical detective's toolkit. And when I say precision, I really mean it. Just look at this gear. That burette, the long tube for adding our titrant, it can measure volume down to 1/100th of a milliliter. The analytical balance can weigh stuff to within 1,000th of a gram. Each piece of this kit is purpose-built to reduce error, because in this game, the tiniest mistake can send your entire investigation way off course. So you might be wondering, where does that known solution, the titrant, even come from? How can we be so absolutely certain of its concentration? Well, it all begins with something called a primary standard. You can think of this as the chemist's gold standard. It's the one piece of evidence in our whole investigation that is pure, stable, and totally reliable. You know, not just any chemical can join this exclusive club. The requirements are super strict. It's got to be incredibly pure, it has to be stable, and this is a big one, it can't absorb water from the air because that would totally throw off its weight. A classic example that chemists love is something called KHP. It's just a really reliable, trustworthy starting point. And this shows you exactly why we need them. Take a really common chemical like sodium hydroxide, NaOH. It's a terrible primary standard. Why? Because it's constantly changing. It's literally pulling water and carbon dioxide right out of the air, so its concentration is always drifting. You just can't trust its weight. So what do? We use our reliable KHP to figure out the exact, true concentration of our less reliable NaOH solution. Okay, so we've got our specialized toolkit, and we've got our rock-solid standard. Now we need a plan of attack. Let's walk through this step-by-step procedure that chemists follow to make sure the results are not just accurate, but also repeatable. It all starts here. First, you have to weigh your primary standard with incredible care. Then you dissolve it and make sure every last speck gets transferred into a special volumetric flask. You dilute it exactly to the calibration mark on the neck of the flask, and then you mix it like crazy. Every single one of these steps is designed to make sure the concentration you calculate on paper is the concentration you actually have in that flask. And now it's time for the main event. You pipette a super precise amount of your analyte into the flask, add a drop of indicator, and then you begin to slowly, carefully add the titrant from the burette. You're watching for that single drop that makes the color change stick. And here's the kicker. You don't just do it once. You repeat it again and again until your results are super consistent. That's how you know you can trust your final answer. But you know, chemistry doesn't always play by the rules. What happens when your mystery substance is stubborn? What if it doesn't dissolve well, or the reaction is just painfully slow? Do you just throw your hands up and give up? No way. Chemists have a very clever trick up their sleeve for just this situation. It's called a back titration, and it's brilliant. Instead of trying to react with the tricky analyte directly, you basically drown it in a precisely known excess amount of another reactant. Then you just titrate whatever is left over. By subtracting the leftover amount from the total you added in the first place, you can figure out exactly how much must have reacted with your target. It's a fantastic, indirect approach to a tough problem. Now, like any high-stakes investigation, there are traps everywhere for the unwary. A single simple mistake can make all of your hard work totally worthless. So let's look at a couple of crucial procedures that keep chemists on the right track.
Okay, one of the biggest and most common traps is not rinsing your glassware correctly. It seems like such a small thing, but the logic here is absolutely critical. You rinse the burette and the pipette with a little bit of the solution they're about to hold. Why? To make sure you don't accidentally dilute your precious standard with leftover water droplets. But, and this is so important, you only rinse the conical flask with pure deionized water. If you rinsed it with the analyte, you'd be adding extra unmeasured mystery substance, basically contaminating your own crime scene from the very start.
So this leads us to a classic question you see all the time. Let's say you've added your analyte to the flask, but then you add a little bit of extra water by mistake before you start. Have you just ruined the entire experiment? And the answer, which might surprise you, is nope, it has no effect at all. Here's why. That pipette delivered a precise amount of your analyte into the flask. We're talking about a specific number of molecules. Adding more water is just like putting those molecules into a bigger room. The concentration changes, yeah, but the number of molecules you need to react with is still exactly the same. The job hasn't changed, so it takes the same amount of titrant to finish it. All right, one last little piece of pro-level terminology. There's the equivalence point. That's the perfect theoretical moment when the reaction is chemically complete. And then there's the end point. That's what we actually see in the lab, the point where the indicator changes color. A well-designed experiment makes sure these two are almost identical, but it's a great little reminder of the difference between the perfect theory and the reality of what we can observe. So, after all this ridiculously meticulous work, why bother? What is the point of all this? This isn't just some abstract exercise for a chemistry class. This level of precision has a huge impact on our everyday lives. Seriously, every time you take a medicine, drink a glass of clean water, or grab food from the grocery store, you are trusting the results of techniques just like this one. Titration is used to guarantee that drugs are pure, to check our water for pollutants, and to confirm the quality and safety of food. This precision is like a hidden shield protecting our health every single day. Which kind of brings us right back to where we started. In the world of chemistry, the difference between knowing the truth and being completely wrong can come down to a single, carefully placed drop. It really makes you wonder, what other tiny, seemingly insignificant details in the world around us have an equally massive impact?